Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah.
Islam Moors, please be seated. I rise, giving all praises to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. Allah is the author, the creator, the governor of the worlds, the almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. All praises are due to Allah. Islam. I extend the highest of honors to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam Moors. I extend high honors as well to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam. I extend high honors as well to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam. Extending high honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you, the Moors, with compound interest. Islam. Extending honors to the noble Sheikh staff, noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the Ills and Bays, for without you there is no Moorish movement. Islam. I give honors to the babies in the room. Islam children. Islam. See the smiles. Islam. Islam mamas. I had to hold you early, you start acting up. Give honors to the mothers in the room. Islam. For without you there is no nation. Islam. Praise Allah. All praises to Allah. Tonight I just want to draw on the concept of society. All right. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew when he came to our people that our people were without their own form of society. What is a society? What is the purpose of a society? You know, who do you go to when things go bad with you? You know, most of us, you know, if you have it, if this have this infrastructure in place, you go to your families. But with what we've been through, a lot of us even don't have that. Islam. All right. You know, a lot of us used to go to the church. You know, you go and bring it to the pastor, deacon board, problems, whatever, and they would come up with a solution for you, right? For some, that still is the case, and for those that still receive such remedy, honors to them, all right? However, you know, when it comes to what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali referred to as our free national standards and principles, this can only be issued to you by operating from your nationality. Islam Moors? All right. I want to draw from Moorish literature, invoke the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's words. Ironically, this section is entitled "The Voice of the Prophet." So let's hear the voice of the Prophet. Start off that way. Let me hear Islam when you're there, if you have Moorish literature. Bismillah. Islam. Praise Allah. The voice of the Prophet. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you often find, was pleading with our people to do better. All right? The voice of the Prophet. If you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have the power to redeem your race, because you will know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the Prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, needs every one of you who thinks that your condition can be better. This is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the Europeans and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things would be added unto you," by the Prophet. Islam? Y'all right? Y'all sound sleepy. Islam? All right. Now, the Prophet is pleading with us. He says, the Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is through the Moorish National Divine Movement. You notice now, this is a point I make all the time, that when you study international law, you'll find out when other nations of people went through certain skirmishes or found themselves in a position where they weren't able to really organize as a nation, so on and so forth. And the family of nations refer to that as whatever their nationality was, and they put the word question at the end. So in other words, they had like the Armenian question, the Jewish question. But when it comes to us, it's the Negro problem. Why is that? What is it about the Negro that is problematic? Anyone? What is problematic about the Negro? What does the Negro lack that makes him not recognized by the family of nations?
Nationality.
A nationality. What is a nationality, bro?
I want to say a set of people. It starts off with culture.
Indeed.
The culture, and I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
Oh, he doing one of them NBA demonstration between the legs. You got it, more? Or you gonna let it go to the other team? What you got? Nationality. You can freestyle. Go ahead. Islam.
Just to counter back what the brother said, you know, also it's culture, you know, it's customs, traditions, and it's also your defined quality of character.
Islam. You hit 2 points. You know, the word nationality is generally defined in Black's Law Dictionary as the quality or character that arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or a state, right? And it also says, you know, nationality also determines political status. Islam? So the first two elements are quality and character. Now, from whence do you derive your quality and your character, right? Now that sounds like, it's not a deep question. How many people in the room were raised Christian? Raised reading the Bible. There's a verse in the Bible that fits that perfectly. It says, honor what? Thy father and thy mother, that your days will be what? Longer upon the earth land that God, the Lord thy God has given thee, as they have it that way. All right? So when you honor the ways of your fathers and your mothers, that's honoring your nationality. Islam? So we like to make the example all the time that, because we have to make you see Noble Drew Ali for who he was. In all the annals of history, all the prophets that ever came to our people, the people they came to knew who they were. They didn't, that wasn't the problem. Their problem was worshiping after gods of whom they knew nothing of. Islam? So when the Israelites got taken by the Babylonians, they started worshiping Babylonian gods. The Babylonians put their names on them. You read the first chapter of Daniel, the first like 4 verses, and it'll tell you that how, when he was taken in. And notice that it's, it says in those 4 verses, it says that it took, the Babylonians took the very best of the Israelites into captivity. Sound familiar? Right? Because like when our forefathers were enslaved, they enslaved a group of like homeless people and a bunch of, vagabonds, and that's not who they came and got, right? A testimony to that. Anybody ever seen a documentary on the building of the U.S. Capitol building in D.C.? Can anybody in the room tell me who built that? Well, he redesigned it after L'Enfant, the French dude, broke out with the plans, and he had it from his memory and improved on it by utilizing the stars and so on and so forth. Inadvertently building that structure of the 10 mile square, just like it is in ancient Egypt. When you look at Pharaoh Ramses II's complex, it looks the same. You got, like right now you got the Lincoln Memorial, the steps come down, the lake is at the end, and the needles, at the end, the Washington Monument. Pharaoh Ramses II, he has his temple, he's on the throne, steps, pool, Cleopatra's needle at the end. Islam? So it's like the same pattern. But the point is that the people that built that were classed in history, the Europeans' history, as slaves. Now, slaves, Yasa, Nosa, this and that or whatever, the way they depict the slave in history should not have been capable of building such a feat as that. Marble floors, pillars, the statue that stands on the top. It took a mathematical formula to get that thing to stand and not be affected by weather. All of that type of stuff was done by your forefathers, who were the cream of the crop, the very best, right? So who were these people? What was their free national name? What principles did they live by? You see, until we understand that, we won't know our position in this country. Islam? This is why it is the Negro problem. Because if you don't know who your forefathers were, you can't know how you're supposed to move. Right now, what movie just came out tonight? Harriet Tubman. Praise Allah for our ancestor, right? But our history did not start during that era. Right? How many people are going to go watch that movie and think that that's where we started at? How many people are going to go see that movie tonight or this weekend, all right, and not be able to tell you after they see that movie who we were before that? How many people are going to see that movie tonight and not understand how she knew about, because the Underground Railroad, they tell you, oh, it's just a metaphor. No, there's parts of that thing that was actually literally underground. There's an underground tunnel network that was here before the European got here. How did Harriet Tubman know about that? Right? Where's my wife? My wife is in the back. My wife went to Rowan University and was Glassboro College in New Jersey back in the day. And there was a portion of it, and she could bear me witness. There's a portion of the college where it's a particular building you go in, and there's a hatch on the floor. You open the hatch up, and there's a tunnel that leads under there. And that's what they used. It was like that was one of the freedom depots where they would come through and let so-called slaves free. Point is, that tunnel was there. Who built it? Who constructed that tunnel? Moors. Before the overthrow, before slavery, the Prophet Noble Dryly tells us that before the European came, we had mountains of gold, and so on and so forth. We knew where all that stuff was, right? But it's almost a blessing that we don't know where it is now, because in the state that we're in, what would we do with it?
Destroy it. Give it back to them.
Give it right back. Invest in our own enslavement. Islam. So the Prophet had to create a society to purify our people's minds. All right. We know in the Moorish Science Temple of America, and pursuant to Act 6, it says that all members must proclaim their nationality. Right? So here in the Moorish Science Temple of America, you have to come before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and proclaim that you're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian, African American, Latino. You have to proclaim you're none of that, but that you're a descendant of the Moorish Americans, who are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Islam? All right? But in doing that, that is called the Prophet calls us in the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, a symbolic rite. Now the Prophet says, what does he say about the symbolic rite? He says, when men understand that sins are washed away by purity and life, a symbolic rite can be introduced, right? So when you declare that you don't want to adhere to the names and principles that delude to slavery, now you're ready for a ritual that that will make you realize that you are your forefathers and you never were those things. You never were a Negro. That's the trick. You never were African American. That's Jesse Jackson's political run speech. Had nothing to do with you and your ancestry. Islam Moors? All right. So let's go into the society a little bit. All right. For those of you who had Holy Qurans and Moorish Science Temple of America, we're going to draw from chapter 30, which is entitled The Social Duties. And this chapter is important, Moors, because when we fall out amongst one another, we shouldn't go back to what we knew as Negro, black, and colored. We should have a higher set of principles that we defer to that raises us up so we can demonstrate in a civilized manner. Islam? All right? All right. Holy instructions from the Prophet, the social duties. Instruction 1. When thou considerest thy wants, when thou beholdest thy imperfections, acknowledge his goodness, O son of humanity, who honored thee with humanity, endowed thee with speech, and placed thee in society to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, protections from injuries, thy enjoyments of the comforts and pleasures of life. All these thou owest to the assistance of others, and couldst not enjoy but in the bands of society. I myself am an author, and I literally can tell you I could probably write about 4 books off that one instruction. Right? Because if you know what you're looking at, he's filling you with international law language. Let's go back. Right? He refers to us as, he says, O son of humanity. Right? Anybody have a copy of the Quran questions for Moorish Americans, the one-on-ones? Can I see this, Sadia? Can I see that? Thank you, Mama. Who is the Prophet holding up right here?
A woman.
Now, what's written on that sister? Humanity. So, obviously, amongst humanity, we have male and female, though, right? Okay, but he's lifting her up because the sister is the embodiment of humanity.
That's right.
Islam? And as long as she's unconscious, humanity or civilization is doomed.
Islam.
So that's why he's lifting her up and he's pulling her out of the cares of the world. Islam? By trade, I'm a barber. That's what I do. That's what keeps the bills paid. That's how I keep the doors open and so on and so forth, right? I can tell you right now, I have female clients, right? I've been a barber for 29 years. And I'm seeing a mutation that's beginning to take place in our sisters. I have female clients now who are growing beards. I have to actually shave them. Okay? I tell the ones who are doing it on the regular because they have, when a man shaves a lot and the skin turns dark. We have sisters who now have dark shadows on their skin. Why is that? What causes the sister to to grow hair on her face. Testosterone. But here's the thing, here you go, sister, right? What's the feminine or female chemical that makes her feminine? Estrogen, right? Now what happens when you put a woman in a position where she has to take on masculine activity? Like she becomes a construction worker. She can do it. She can do it, right? But is her body designed to do it?
No, sir.
No. So to do it, her body has to adapt and mutate in order to accomplish the task. That's the almost the phenomenal design of what Allah created in this temple here. You can do whatever you like to do. That don't mean you're designed to do it though. All right? So what happens is now you're starting to see sisters, anybody look at the sisters in the WBA? The women's basketball?
Yes, of course.
You see them sisters?
Yes, of course.
Any one of you brothers want to run up on any one of them sisters? I tell you right now, I'm 5'4" without shoes. I'm not running up on them broad-shouldered sisters with the long arm reach. I'm not doing it. Islam, for them to do that, and because nine times out of 10, for them to be in that league, they've been athletic in that way their whole lives, right? So for them to be that, they have to adapt, or mutate, I should say. You see what I'm saying? So what's happening is, the prophet is, when he's saying that the sister's unconscious, but he has humanity written on her womb, we have to understand that principle. If we don't understand that principle, we as a race are destroyed. Islam wars, all right? But he says, son of humanity, right? He says, and he mentioned it again, and honor thee with humanity. This is something I want to impart to the Moors. In your dealings with the Europeans, all this mess is going on in the news, police shootings, all this type of stuff. Don't allow, in taking all that in, don't lose your humanity. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, what I mean by it, you're not designed to hate by nature. You aren't. I can't speak for anybody else, but you aren't, right? Blood pressures. I'll give you an example. I'm a Libra. Like with me, if, for example, that sign that says open, if that sign was not even and tilted, like it's bothering me now because it's not exactly even, but if it was tilted like this and I would go through my day, subconsciously that's stressing me out and I don't know it. I gotta stop everything I'm doing and then go back to it. You know what I'm saying? Another example, if you were walking, you had to walk to work every day, and you had to walk past a house. In that yard in the front, there was a little chihuahua. Chihuahuas think they pit bulls, right? You gotta hear that every day, right? You won't realize that your blood pressure is going up each day. Because that's not, you gotta walk past that and it's not peaceful. You understand what I'm saying? All right? So now what happens is if you take a person whose body, because we have melanin, right? This olive hue that we have, it's melanin, it's a living chemical. What happens if you put somebody who's a sentient being, means feeling, right? A sentient being like that, and you put them in an environment that we call the hood, right? You ever notice the colors of the buildings in the hood? Prison colors, brown and gray, and so that keeps you on psychological lockdown, right? You go to Morocco, anybody ever seen architecture of Morocco? No? They have a city in Morocco called the Blue City. And everywhere, you've seen them about it? Everywhere you go, the colors are the different variations and shades of blue, right? They have another one you go to where there's different shades of yellow. So India is the same way. They reflect the buildings with the colors of nature to uplift the people's psyche and their being, right? That's how we're created. They understand that. But see, the European also understands that here, right? And you're affected by the colors of nature. And to keep you on lockdown, even without the bars, you're surrounded by things that keep your mind and spirit on lockdown so you can't rise up. Islam? All right. Moving forward, he says, endowed thee with speech. What is, okay, you know, like in a university, the term endowment. What is an endowment? Anybody? Somebody pull out one of them expensive iPhones and Google endowment for me. Y'all know y'all got them, stop fronting. Somebody got an iPhone in here. Nobody? Mobiles, could you Google endowment for me? ENDOWMENT. There we go. What we got, Siri? What is it more?
The action of endowing something, an income of, or form of property given or bequeathed to someone.
Bequeath. Bequeath deals with inheritance. Islam?
A quality or ability possessed or inherited by someone.
Islam. All right? So a bequeathing or an inheritance, the prophet is saying, endow thee with speech. So speech is an endowment from the Creator, right? So we're not supposed to sit around in idle speech. Sit around talking about whatever, gossiping. You know, the Negro problem. You know what our people do, right? Misusing the gift that was given, right? But he says, endow thee with speech and place thee in society, there's that word society, right? To receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations. I'll give you an example. There's one of our sisters, she was with my wife, they were out one day, and they came across someone that was homeless. The sister pulled out a $20 bill, gave it to the homeless person. Praise Allah. Have a good day. She made it there. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Right? 3 days later, a sister comes to my barbershop. She says, I want to get a haircut. I said, okay. She said, I can't get it right now, but I want to pay you now. I'll come back. I said, okay, no problem. So gave her the $20, right? My wife sees and says, that's the sister that the sister gave the money to. I said, oh, well, praise Allah. So what am I going to do? I took and gave the $20 back to the sister who originally gave it to her. So that $20 went in a complete circle. Islam? That is how when it says receive and confer, reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, that's how it's supposed to move in a society. Islam? But if we're not moving like that, then we are subject to those who understand that principle. That's the subjugation, but it's a willful subjugation because we submit ourselves to it. Islam? All right? Next, protection from injuries, right? This is another thing a society is supposed to be for. Brothers, there's no way that we're supposed to be allowing the things that are taking place against our sisters to be happening. It's not supposed to happen, period. We've slouched under our duty to even allow some of the stories that I hear from sisters when they confide in me about what they've been through. This shouldn't be happening, right? We have to step up as men. Islam wars? I don't sound like I don't believe you. Islam wars? Now, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is a response. if we're not there psychologically, we're not gonna get it done. Islam wars, right? So protection from injuries, which is the chief duty of government, right? Thy enjoyments of the comfort and the pleasures of life, all these thou owest to the assistance of others, and couldst not enjoy but in the bands of society. My sister Hafiza had to step out a little earlier. Baby was in the car seat. Baby realized babies are smarter than you think they are. She looked around and felt Mama wasn't in the room. So Uncle Heru had to jump in the gap in the fray right there and pick her up and keep her calm until Mama came back. That's society. Islam wars? Islam. You know, because when we see a gap, fill it. Don't sit and complain about the gap. That's the Negro problem, right? But if you be a nation of people, you would fix that. Islam wars? Islam. Moving forward. It is thy duty, therefore, to be a friend to mankind, as it is thy interest that man should be friendly to thee. As the rose breatheth sweetness from its own nature, so the heart of a benevolent man produceth good works. He enjoyeth the ease and tranquility of his own breast, and rejoiceth in the happiness and prosperity of his neighbor. So you're not hating when your neighbor's doing well. You're happy, actually. He openeth not his ear unto slander. The faults and the failings of men give a pain to his heart. His desire is to do good, and he researcheth out the occasions thereof in removing the oppression of another. He relieveth himself. From the largeness of his mind, he comprehendeth in his wishes the happiness of all men, and from the generosity of his heart, he endeavoreth to promote it. Islam wars? Islam. All right. I'd like two people to give me a feeling of what they received from that. The floor is open. Brother Jalil, Islam war?
Islam. In this particular chapter, to me, to make it plain, the prophet is really just saying, like, just look out for your own. You know, just be a good person and do for your people.
Islam. Powerful. Thank you. One more? Anyone else? Brother Kareem.
For number 7.
Yes.
From the larger mind, like you can't. Everybody not gonna see your vision and understand what you're doing, but you're moving in the development of your family and society. So you might do an action when nobody understands.
Right.
It might not even take effect to another 6 months, a year or so down the road. And a lot of people benefiting from it. They don't even realize it was your action.
Exactly.
That did.
Yes, sir. Powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Moving forward, I'd like to draw from something really quick. This is known as, how many people have heard of the Mayflower? What was the Mayflower?
Vessel.
Who was on the vessel? Second?
Pilgrims.
Pilgrims, Europeans, right? And they were on their way here, allegedly escaping religious persecution, right? Anyone ever read what they refer to as the Mayflower Compact? What is a compact?
That's our own treat.
Not so much. You're in the right neighborhood. more so of let's do this. What is a covenant? Right? Which is a contract, right? So we have a holy covenant of Asiatic nations, right? So it's a contract between different parties amongst our people, right? A compact agreement is the same thing. It's a group of people that come together to agree on certain principles, okay? So the Mayflower Compact, let's read this. And this is coming out of, for those who's really interested in the Prophet's lessons, I would suggest you get this book. It's called America, A Patriot's Handbook. And in here, you have multiple documents from U.S. history that are in here. And dealing with more science of America, we're going to touch all of them and more one time or another. And again, that's America, A Patriot's Handbook. Right? The write-up on the Mayflower Compact reads, it says the Mayflower Compact is the first governing document of the Plymouth colony. It was signed November 11th, write this date down, November 11th, 1620. Let's get a little brief timeline here. When were the Moors overthrown or defeated in Spain? 1492. When were they collectively kicked out of Spain? 1610, right? Now, this right here is 10 years after that. November 11th, 1620. By 41 of the 101 passengers aboard the Mayflower, several of whom will become America's best known Pilgrim Fathers. It begins, it says, in the name of God, amen. That's the whole thing right there, but I'm not gonna do that. It says, we whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dread sovereign Lord, King James, by the grace of God, of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, King and defender of the faith, etc., having undertaken for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith. Okay, so no, that's what they're doing, right? The advancement of the Christian faith and the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do by these presents solemnly and mutually, same language we just read, and mutually in the presence of God and one another, covenant and combine ourselves together in a civil body politic for our better ordering and preservation and furtherance of the ends aforesaid. And by virtue hereof do enact, constitute, and frame such just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and officers from time to time as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience. In witness whereof, we have hereunto subscribed our names at Cape Cod, the 11th of November, in the reign of our sovereign Lord, King James of England, France, and Ireland, the 18th, and of Scotland, the 54th, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord, 1620, and it has their names under that. Does anybody hear a similar language from the social duties first verse we just read? Let's go through it. For those taking notes, write these words down. Write down mutually. Covenant, combine, okay, this word right here, group of words, body politic. Sister Taifa, could you read that definition for body politic that's right there? This is Black's Law Dictionary, third edition, body politic, should be at the bottom, body. Islam.
Collective body of a nation or state as politically organized or as exercising political functions.
Islam. All right. So here it says civil body politic. What does the word civil mean? Anybody? Of or relating to what? Citizens. All right. So this is the rights and duties of citizens. Right. For them to organize themselves. Write down the word ordering. Preservation, virtue, enact, E-N-A-C-T, constitute, which is the root word of the word constitution, right? Frame, just and equal, ordinances, acts, and constitutions. Right? So here we can see that the Europeans agreed, even before they touched the shores of what we now know as the United States of America, to work together to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations. They were already setting up government before they got to the shores, right? Because you can't live on the land without government. Can't. It's impossible. All right? If you think it's possible, just look around at your life and see what's going on, right? Usually where there's no government, there's anarchy. Islam? Now let's look at what Prophet Noble Drew Ali, meant for his Moors here in America. This is chapter 48, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Starting at instruction 6. 48:6 is the last chapter. Which reads, "We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation." Let's stop there. In that Mayflower Compact, the Europeans told you they came spreading a Christian creed. Islam, that Christianity has nothing to do with your grandmama was celebrating and auntie them speaking in tongues. That's our treatment of that is completely different. Islam, you gotta realize any system we touch, we're always gonna put ourselves on it. Whether you deal with Islam, Christianity, Judaism, we're always gonna put some melanin on it and make it ours, all right? But that Christianity they were talking about was a government system, right? Instruction 8, "While we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation." Instruction 9, "The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee." Instruction 10, "Come all ye Ajax of America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets." Islam Moors?
Islam.
So Prophet Noble Drew Ali is setting aside a group of people that would honor their forefathers and do what their forefathers did, right? It doesn't do us good in this day and time. In fact, it makes us look like fools. For us to talk about, we built pyramids, we founded mathematics, we founded astronomy, so on and so forth, and we're not doing those things in this day and time.
That's right.
Islam? We talk about, building pyramids and stuff like that, but we have hard times keeping ourselves together. This is the pyramid. This is why the Prophet put that capstone on our heads, right? You look on the back of the dollar bill, there's a pyramid, right? And the capstone is hovering above the pyramid. Islam? But the Prophet took and put that capstone right on your head when he put that Fez and turban on you, right? Because that's you saying that you're going to, complete the work. Say that you're going to take on the building of the temple of the perfected man and woman, to fix those things that are flawed and correct us to get us going in a good path. Because you get a good solid constituency, going, you'll affect the rest of the populace. Has anyone present ever heard of the 100th monkey phenomenon? Okay, there was a group of scientists that got an endowment, that's that word again, or basically a grant to, do experiments on monkeys on a remote island, right? So they were seeing if they could take these monkeys and teach them how to wash off potatoes before they ate them. Sounds foolish, but they were seeing if they could teach them a working skill, a motor skill, right? So, there was a total of 100 monkeys that they took, and they taught them how to wash off the, potatoes before they ate them. First, they would just grab the potato, just eat. No. Take them, wash it off, show them, and then, they mimic. So it took a little while, but then they got, 98, 99, 100 monkeys. Okay, boom. Wrote it down, completed task, whatever. It's like, okay, let's, research the other side of the island, see what's here, right? When they got on the other side of the island, they saw the monkeys on that side were already washing off fruit and whatever, washing it off before they ate it. So then they came upon with a theory that said, okay, they took a total number of the monkeys of the island and said, if you get 100, like just whatever the percentage of that 100 was of that population of monkeys, if you get that percentage to do a particular thing, it'll naturally catch on. How many people are old enough to remember the wearing of afros back in the day? I'm talking about back in the day, I ain't talking about the 90s, I'm talking about back. 70s, right? Remember back in those days, we had television, right? But we only had, how many channels we had on TV back then? About 3 channels, right? So there wasn't no rap videos. You know, we watched Soul Train if your antenna was working right that day. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. But how did nationwide we all collectively start wearing afros all at the same time? You know, there's a certain point where we sync up. That's what the melanin, Sister hit it. She went like this. There's a certain point when we all sync up, and that's what the European fears, right? Because his fear is that a certain group of us get to doing a particular thing, and it'll catch on, right? It's already beginning to happen, even with this Moorish movement, because you got people speaking about Moorish, or what they think is Moorish, right? People that you would have normally never thought they'd been on that. You see what I'm saying? But you have a hardcore, dedicated crew that no matter what, will make sure that those doors stay open and that these flags are hoisted, that charter is raised, and these lessons are taught. Because that's done on a consistent basis, it's affecting the rest of the populace, right? When all the stuff is going on, that, you know, like I said, the police killings and all that, the people are now beginning to like, you know what? What time are those meetings again? I think I'm gonna come out. They're looking for something higher because what they're seeing, there's no answers in what they're seeing because it doesn't make any sense. Islam Morris? Islam. Let's look at the purpose of institutions. Drawing from the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey in his book called A Message to the People. He has a section in there called The Purpose of Institutions. So as to not burden the Moors, I'll get through this. I'll open the floor for questions. And if there are no more questions, I'll lower the meeting. Islam Morris? Islam. The purpose of institutions. Organized society, notice he just says society, he said organized society, right? Organized society is always a mass of people, and as such cannot do anything explicit or by detail by themselves. Same thing the Prophet just said. Hence, the organizing of institutions to do the particular work that cannot be done by the masses as a whole. There are different kinds of institutions in a society, but each institution has its particular function, whether it be the church, the college, university, school, hospital, academy, chamber of commerce, fraternity, trade union, literary club, sports club, athletic club, gymnasium, YMCA, or WCA, etc. In our present civilization, no society will be considered functioning properly if such institutions did not exist. Real quick, if you're studying law, they call these civil societies. Write that down. Civil societies. Research that. It's a whole nother level of study. Therefore, it is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. It is not necessary or binding that he copies completely the systems, methods, or manners of these institutions, except insofar as they will go to help him to promote a higher life and in accomplishing the most out of this organized society. It is incumbent upon him that he also have and control his own institutions, based upon his own cultural and civilized idealism. As for instance, he may have his own church, but it is not necessary for him to adopt the peculiar articles of faith of the churches of alien races. Islam? Like you saw, for instance, earlier, you know, we passed a collection basket. We do that so that way we invest in our own freedom. Because we can very well go out and find other funding, but see, he who controls the finance controls the movement. Islam Morris? Islam. So if we accept a grant from somebody, you know, an endowment from somebody, they're going to tell us what we can and cannot say. Right. Islam? Just last week I had to defend one of my Grand Sheikh brothers who's under attack by the media, you know, by statements that he made on Facebook. All right, and let's say that, by the way. Stop thinking that Facebook, Instagram, all kind of stuff is some fun stuff, right? Anything you say on there can and will be used against you in the court of law. Islam Morris? Islam. Be clear on that. Goldman Sachs did not give Mark Zuckerberg $1 billion because he thought he was a handsome guy. He gave it to him because he did something that the FBI had been trying to do for years but was illegal. But as a private citizen, he did it, and they said, okay, now we have, so let me go back. The FBI for years had been trying to create individual profiles on every American citizen, your movements, your actions, your thoughts, your likes, your passions, all that kind of stuff, right? But they couldn't do it, you know, dealing with public money, right? So Mark Zuckerberg, as a private citizen, comes and says, you know what, I have an idea. I'm going to create a platform where people can create profiles on themselves. Right? And you have people now taking real lifetime shots of what they're doing in the moment. We're about to go on vacation, telling the whole criminal world that my home is wide open. Islam? All right? But the point is, right, that, you know, he created it and now we snitch on ourselves. right? And meanwhile, not realizing the stuff that we say, right, is taking you think your employer ain't watching your Facebook page? Anybody ever went for a job and got turned down because of social media? Well, it happens. Islam? There was a sister in East Point, right up the street. Went on Facebook talking about, it was after a particular police shooting, and she went on Facebook talking about, you know, those cops need to be shot, and if it was me, I'd blow their brains out. As she's texting it, they was at her door. Took her to jail. Terroristic threats. Islam Wars? There's a book that was written back in the day called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Write it down. Brave New World. That and 1984 by George Orwell. Those are like basically like, you know, 1 and 2. They're basically like the same book. And they're telling you about the world that you're now living in. He wrote 1984 back in 48. Right? Because him and Aldous Huxley were part of a European collective that they call futurists. Right? And what they do is they create technology. The goal is to do it decades in advance. So by the time we get iPhones, you know that the CIA and all them have already had all of that stuff. Islam? All right. When you get a chance, look at the, everybody remember Fear Factor? Yes. Remember that? The guy that hosts Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan has a podcast on YouTube. Type in Joe Rogan and then type in Eric Snowden after that. Snowden. You know, Eric Snowden's the CIA analyst that leaked all that stuff and is still on the run. Well, somehow they arranged to have an interview with him. And he's telling all the things about your cell phone, how you can't really turn it off and all this kind of, you probably won't sleep that night after you finish watching it. But research it, because this is the world that you're living in. All right, moving forward. Marcus Garvey says, he is not a Hebrew, therefore he should not adopt the Hebrew faith. He is not by origin a Roman Catholic nor an Anglican, because these faiths or religions were founded by, he said white men, I'll say European, with an idea of their own. In his religious philosophy, the Negro may safely adopt articles of faith that link him to the Godhead of the Christian faith and practice such as his particular religion, and so likewise with all institutions. His universities, colleges, and schools may engage in the same processes of education, but with an adopted curriculum for the special benefit of the Negro. His clubs, academies, and unions should be modeled in the same way. The absolute objective of obtaining the end is that is particularly desired by the race. The Negro should never completely surrender himself to the institutional life of other people. Otherwise, he will not be original, but purely and merely a copyist. If this could be appreciated, it shows or reveals the wide fields that have remained untouched for Negro organization and Negro activities. It is through the institutions of a race that the civilization and culture of the race are built. The Negro should occupy himself in cultivating his own culture and ultimately achieving his own civilized ends, so that in the comparison of racial achievements, he may be able to stand out distinctly on those achievements on his own account as others may do. And I'll just stop there, all right? And again, that's Marcus Garvey's message to the people, the purpose of institutions. Islam Morris? I'm going to make a statement, and that statement is that the European is tired of carrying us. Islam? He's tired of feeding you because they're having a hard time feeding themselves. He's tired of dealing with your quarrels because he has his own quarrels to tend to. I'll give you an example. Well, we say a lot about the police, right? But could you imagine in the state that our people's minds are in, if the police did not exist, what would those communities look like? Let's say this. How many of you right now in this room, don't answer, this is rhetorical, don't raise your hand. Don't, you know the Constitution says don't be a witness against yourself. How many of you in this room, if murder wasn't illegal, Islam? And it had to be my wife to laugh first, right? Praise Allah and honor to his prophet. But if murder wasn't illegal, we've been there. Murder wasn't illegal. Like you could like take somebody out. And I know this is the holy day, right? If murder wasn't illegal and you could take that person out and there were no repercussions, what would your body count look like? Okay? So the point is that it's the threat of jail. It's the threat of the punishment. It's the threat that holds you back, that keeps your lower self in check to a degree, right? And everybody's is not, in check to a degree. That's why you have penal colony, penal institutions, so on and so forth, which they got from the Moors. Islam was what y'all think the Caucasus Mountains was. Y'all familiar about that, right? Y'all know what the Caucasus Mountain was? Them Europeans didn't just end up in there. We marched them there. You know? Some would say 2,200 miles across the hot burning sands. They said, well, they rode goats and we rode on camels. For those who know what that is. Islam? Don't be trying to figure it out. If you don't know, leave it alone. I felt the heat. Y'all was trying to figure. It's a certain language. I'm talking to a certain group of people here. All right? But the point of that is that we put them there, right? Just like when we became the barbaric ones, we had to get put somewhere. Islam? See, you are the mothers and fathers of the torch bearers of civilization. Y'all heard that phrase before? Torch bearers of civilization? What's the degree of the torch? What does the torch represent? Why is the Statue of Liberty hold that torch? Knowledge or light or? What's that spooky word, that spooky group of the 2% they say runs the planet? Ooh, right, to be illuminated. Like you graduate from a college or university, they say you're what? Alumni, which is illumin or illuminated, right? Coming from the Latin word lux, meaning light. Islam? All right, so you're the descendants of the ones who held the torch up in a dark age. Islam? Y'all realize y'all back in the dark ages again.
Yes, sir.
Are y'all clear on that? Don't let the iPhones and all that technology fool you. We are in the dark ages. Islam wars? You know, there was I'm just saying, I'm gonna code this up because the baby's in the room. There were 3 Europeans who were recently incarcerated for having relations with cows and deer and so on and so on and so forth. Islam? You know, the Old Testament, they call that bestiality, right? You know, but you know, laws are made when an incident happens. So even back in those days when that law was written in the Bible, that means somebody was doing that for that law to be enacted. Islam? You know, where diseases, anybody know what the word syphilis means? Write that down and look that up when you get a chance. The word syphilis means shepherd. That'll give you some insight of the relationship between the shepherd and the sheep.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just saying. Islam. I didn't create the etymology. I just like to read. All right? So this is the state that we're in. So now we have to civilize humanity all over again. But it starts with us. Actually, it starts with our women. Right? The reality of it is, when people judge nations on the planet, they don't judge them by the men. They judge them by looking at the degree of civility of the women.
That's right.
Right? Sisters, how can I say this? When it comes to our dealings with you all, right? We do what y'all let us get away with. I'm snitching on the brothers. Yes, I am snitching on the brothers. We do what y'all let us get away with. You'll notice that if a brother walks up to you a certain kind of way and it's a way that you think that's less than you, and you check him, he'll either step up or step off. If he's really sincere, he'll step up like, I'm sorry, he'll get on his square, he'll fix his shirt, he'll straighten his beard up and re-articulate. You see what I'm saying? But it's up to the sister to either accept it or to shut it down. Islam, you know, we consider in Islam and the tradition of, you may wonder why we have y'all separate from the men, right? In this setting. It's because in the tradition of our forefathers, we held our women as so sacred, is that, you know, wars were started behind harming the honor of a woman. You know, y'all have heard of chivalry before?
Yes, sir.
Who did chivalry start with? The Moors. If you go, I'm not going to read it. I don't want to burn you. But if you go inside your Moorish literature and the section Moorish Leaders' Historical Message to America, the prophet actually touches on chivalry and shows you that it was the Moors that introduced that. So the concept of, remember they say he would take off his jacket and put it over a puddle so she could walk over? Well, if you notice, the Moors in ancient times wore capes. Y'all know that? You ever seen the Moor style out? We all have if not, come on January 5th to our celebration for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I plan on wearing my cape, my Moorish white satin silk cape, looking like my forefathers. Don't play with the Prophet, boys. Prophet's birthright, man. Look, we bring it out. Islam, you know, but the brother would, he was so noble, he'll take his silk cape off. No, sister, no. Now you walk on silk and satin. That's the Moors. This mess we doing now, I don't know where we got that from. Islam? You know, so, you know, when you be yourself and no one else, the nations of the earth will begin to look at you and begin to treat you different because they realize you are being now who the earth recognizes. Like, oh yeah, those are the ones that civilized us. Remember, you gave them soap. Y'all know how important soap is? The word soap in Arabic is sabun, right? Everyone's sabun. Sabun means soap. Sabun literally, it comes from the word sabr, which means patience. Here's why those two words are connected. The physical soap cleanses the body, right? But patience cleanses the spirit. Islam? All the things that our forefathers have been through, you realize that they went through all that torment just so you could sit in this room now and get these lessons? Because in their day, reading was outlawed. They couldn't do what we just did tonight. Get your hand or head chopped off. Yep. Islam? The fact that we're up in here unfolding these lessons that were written and chronicled by our forefathers goes to show, that's a milestone in the journey of our race, right? Because we can literally now free ourselves. For those Marvel fans, I love Marvel movies. There was a movie called Doctor Strange. If you're not familiar with it, even if you're not a Marvel fan, watch this movie for the science of it. The movie Doctor Strange is the only, well, I'm not gonna say only, but she could correct me. He's one of the only superheroes that actually got his powers through reading, through study. That's how he learned to do the spells and all that type of stuff, by reading the books, right? So he wasn't like hit by a meteorite and he got the powers, none of that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't ride in on a meteorite to Earth like Superman. He actually read some books and got his powers. Islam? And it's the same thing. Like, you have powers laying dormant, nothing spooky. You know what I'm saying? But how many times, like, just accidentally have you thought of a person and they called you? Or got that thing, I don't think I need to go there. You go right instead of left and it was an accident or a shooting that way. When if you would have went that way, you got caught in that. That's you on autopilot, right? But what if you consciously knew what you were doing? What if we consciously knew how to bring the souls to earth that we needed to help us fight this war? It would be totally different. Some of us accidentally incarnate and just from as children. How many of you were interested in these type of things when you were a child? How many of you sat in church, and this might not be everybody, right? How many of you sat in church and heard the preacher preaching and was like, I don't believe a thing he's saying. I don't believe none of it. How many people couldn't, no matter how hard you tried, catch the Holy Ghost? I was on a row, I was on a pew. They call it a pew, right? I'm sitting on the pew. I got, 10 people on the pew. It hit here, skipped over me. My mom was one of them. She catch the Holy Ghost, slapped me in the face. I'm like, Mom, what's going on? Why didn't I get it? Islam? Because some of you are cerebral thinkers. Our people that, a lot of times our people that catch that they're sentient, right? Even tribally, because what the European did, he took and mixed all the tribes together, right? So a lot of times, they mix together. In your one family line, you might have different tribal strengths in the bloodline, right? The Sheikh touched on it earlier, a tribe of people out of Nigeria called the Yoruba. And amongst the Yoruba, if you go to any one of their celebrations in their practice of what they call Ifa, they'll have a shrine and there'll be drummers drumming, whatever. And they have a process of what they call getting mounted, which there's some people that, as the ceremony's going on and they're dancing to the drum, one of the ancestors that descend on them and they'll, catch what you called in church the Holy Ghost. See what I'm saying? But everybody can't do it. That's got to be in your line for you to receive that. You know what I'm saying? So there's different gifts that we all have. Now, when you talk about the Moors were the thinkers of the Asiatic people. We were the scholars. There was one, his name was El-Hakim. He was one of the sultans. El-Hakim, in his personal library, had 500,000 books and was well-versed in all of them, right? He sat the scholars down. He was the ruler. He sat the scholars down and debated them. No, that's not true. It's actually this. He would get, it being no side. He's the ruler. He's supposed to be in the palace somewhere. He'd come out with the scholars and be building with them, and because he enjoyed that. He would go around to the hospitals, right, and look at the sick and say, well, what's wrong with this person here? And they give him the thing. So no, I actually think it's this because I actually read, and he was like learned like a physician, and he would take monies out of the treasury to help the laymen, So again, from the Moorish tradition, this is what we come from. We come from a level of greatness that's so powerful that if you knew who you were, we wouldn't act the way we do. The only way that we act the way we do is proof in the pudding that we can't know who we are.
Yes, sir.
I give the example all the time. Couple more minutes. As an example all the time, we were at the Auburn Festival one time. So we had a table set up, we were selling the books, had the flag put up and everything. So, it's people, a bunch of people at Auburn Fest walking, and then it started raining. We had our fezzes on and stuff. It started raining, so we put like some plastic over the table, and we got next door, the sister had next to us, the sister had a tent. So we got under the tent. There's a bunch of people just huddled under the tent. So we were next to these Europeans, right? And I'm listening to Europeans talk. They had a British accent, right? And the one European lady, so I'm right here. She, she keeps doing one of these numbers. Looking at the feds, So I looked at her, you all right? So, oh yes, I'm bloody fine. My English accent is horrible. But she's like, I'm fine. She's like, so what is your nationality? Hits me with my question. Now I'm supposed to ask people, what is your nationality? I'm Moorish American. She's like the Moors? I said, exactly, the Moors. She was like, where have you guys been? I said, well, we've always been here, but a funny thing happened in 1492. They took a pen and changed our free national name from being, or our national descent name from being Moorish to Negro. They took our names of our forefathers and initially put Spanish names on us. Those were the first names they put on us. Hernandez, Lopez, so on and so forth, right? Then when the English defeated the Spanish, then we got the English names, or whatever tribe that you're from. That's how we got the English names, okay? And she was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So you mean to tell me you guys have always been? She says, we've always been there. It's so glad, the earth needs you all. I said, I know, that's why we're back. Doing what we do. And and she was like, she had like tears in her eyes. Because what she'd read, she was like, the Moor, like she can go and be like, I met a Moor today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is the thing. And we give the, example too, as well as we just came back from Philadelphia, Moorish American Remembrance Day. And I'll tell you more, it's like just seeing people from different countries bowing. May I take a picture with you from Bulgaria, Philippines, Turkey, all of that type of stuff. Oh my God, you all look so beautiful. Because it's, it's hundreds of us and we in turbans and fezzes and all kinds of stuff walking through Philadelphia where they stole the nationality at. Where they took this flag and buried it in Independence Hall in Philadelphia, October 14th, 1774. Where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had to go and retrieve the flag back, right? When he came back and said, I'm here to get their flag, and they gave him a red flag with no star on it, he said, don't play with me, give me their flag, where's the star? Then they brought a flag with a 6-pointed star, he said, that's not their flag. They kept trying to see if he was who he said he was. He knew what he had to know and demonstrated his degrees, and they returned him the flag. And they also told him, getting the Negro in America to accept Islam would be like getting a donkey to wear pants. Good luck. And here we are still trying to get the donkey to put on some Levi's. Islam? Islam. All right. So the European knew the condition that we were in because primarily he assisted in putting us in it. We don't play the blame game. I'm not going to say he put us in it because the European, at the state he was in when he defeated us, was not even advanced enough to defeat us. We defeated ourselves. Hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms is how we fell. Islam? And it's until we give those things up that, we won't be able to get to where we're supposed to be. Islam, Morris? Brother Raphael, I need the, parts of, all as well. Different color folder. Are there any questions? I'd like to open the floor at this point for questions, comments, concerns, or statements. Now, like the prophet said, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Do not, after the prayer, corner me in one of these corners and ask me 5,000 questions. I will not accept them. You either speak now or forever hold your peace. Islam, the floor is open. What you got? First of all, let me give some honors. We have a couple that's with us today that drove all the way from Albany, Georgia, to be here with the members of Temple Number 19 tonight. How far was that drive, brother?
About 3 hours.
3 hours. Praise Allah. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Meaning Allah is the greatest. Thank you very much for coming to sit with us. Long-winded cheeks. We can be very long-winded. We try to be merciful, but it's so much to cover. It's so much to cover, and we have so much to do. And we pray Allah that this won't be the last time that you visit us, but what we'd like to offer is that, if you're really interested in these teachings and these lessons, if you're interested in doing this same thing in your area, we can assist you with that. And if we have to crew up and get in the van or whatever we got to get in to drive down to Albany to help set you guys up, we were more than welcome to do so. We're more than glad to do so. So just consider, no pressure right now, but just consider it because you know how like right now there's a church on every corner?
Right.
There needs to be temples everywhere. Our people need to know. They shouldn't have to figure out, like y'all, that search y'all had to do to figure out where to find it at and be misled and lied to and all types of stuff. It shouldn't be that way. They should be able to have the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple of America, 3 of them on the block if we can get them. Because each one is going to take on a different character based on the administration that's there. Because the Prophet has said we can establish our own customs. Right? So you're going to get it, even if there were 3 on one particular block, you're going to get a different flavor from each one. Still on the same foundation, but a different flavor. So if we can assist you all in any regard, please let us know. This is what we do. All right. Islam? All right. And are you my sister that texts me about Our sister contacted me last week and she was like, I want to come to the temple so bad, but I can't until next week, and da-da-da. And she hit me to death. She was like, I want to make it, but I can't, and such. And last minute she was like, I'm going to be able to make it. See y'all soon. You know, and praise Allah, for, you know, gratitude for you coming. You know, we have to honor that because do you know what Friday night means to our people in the world? Do you know what our people are doing right? We'll see. They probably just about to get started right now. Get ready to get turned up, right? But instead, y'all are here trying to reason, figure out how we can do something better for our people. Islam, that's a powerful thing, all right? I know I'm talking. Y'all supposed to be talking. Brother Kareem, you had a question?
My question. Quick, two comments.
Yes.
Benjamin Banneker,
Yes.
as he was taught, I just found this out. And last name, Banneker with K-A,
Banuka.
and they got kidnapped from basically some guy, the Ghana, Nigeria area. And so he wasn't taught in America. He was taught by his father, who was
Absolutely.
a prince.
Absolutely.
And also with the cell phones, even though you can't cut them off, you wrap them in aluminum foil, and they'll stop working, so they can't trace you, and they can't sit no stop. They put it in aluminum foil.
Islam. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Well, come to the temple, you get all kind of information. I wasn't ready for that one. Praise Allah. We got some rentals wrapped at the house, don't we? Islam. Praise Allah. But yeah, absolutely. On the first point as well, Benjamin Banuka was his actual name. You know what I'm saying? You know, and who was never a slave. You know what I'm saying? You know, debated Thomas Jefferson as an equal. You know, there's a newspaper. If you go to one of the Asiatic bookstores, or you probably even get it online, it's a newspaper called they call it the Black Chronicle, and it's a set of newspapers from like the 1700s all the way up to like 1968, and they have in there the original articles of when Benjamin Banneker was debating Thomas Jefferson, so on and so forth. So the Moor's been at it. This ain't new. You know. Any more questions from our family visitors? You have any questions?
I have
Come on, sister, let's go. I remember you texted me, like, I got a million questions. Get in the temple.
but I was in such a hurry to get here because I didn't want to miss the meeting.
Okay, take a deep breath. You're here.
Organizing. But it's concerning nationality.
Sure.
I do want to claim my nationality.
Okay. Praise Allah.
How would I get a passport with my nationality card, or do I still? How would I do it?
The nationality card doesn't make you anything other than an American citizen. So there would be no conflict there. You see what I'm saying? And see, that's the biggest thing. Like, we have a protocol generally, you know, at this moment where, you know, one would attend, 3 Friday Holy Day meetings and 3 Sunday schools. And then after such time, there's an interview that takes place between the administration and the candidate. And if they're desirous of proclaiming their nationality after that point, we permit them to do so. But the reason why we do it that way is to get a good so they'll have a good understanding of what they're getting involved in. You know, we always say you should never join something unless you know exactly what it is, right? And I'm doing that to be altruistic because if it was about power, I'd be like, yeah, let's proclaim it. Come right up here right now, knowing that you probably don't really know what you really get involved in. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that you really get a good hand or handle of what this is. And Sheikh Rashid, could you hand me the Prophet more? Picture the Prophet. And it's very important that we understand who this man is. Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us, he says, when man honors man, he honors Allah. What man does for man, he does for Allah. Islam, got it to Sheikh. Islam more, right? So just like to introduce you to a person just in case you never met my daddy before my father. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali, one thing you'll notice about him, he's always demonstrating degrees. The Prophet never arbitrarily just took a picture. He's communicating. If you just have to know what he's communicating to you. Everything here is a sign and a symbol. You understand what I'm saying? And we're taught that a prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. We also refer to our prophet as an angel, but it's no spook degree because in our lessons it teaches that an angel is the thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. You see what I'm saying? So we're not talking about little fat European babies with harps and wings and all that kind of stuff. An angel is an actual messenger that comes and brings and delivers a message. And the message he came to deliver us was to give us our nationality and our divine creed. And if it wasn't for this man, we would have no remedy for what we're going through. You understand? So an in-depth study needs to be taking place on this man and what he brought. You see? Because there's a lot of groups that spun out of what he brought, right? And kind of took bits and pieces of it, and demonstrated, but they'll hit certain brick walls because they didn't take the whole program. You know what I'm saying? So Prophet Noble Drew Ali, there is no other, you know, and this institution that we stand in, the very fact that we have these emblems here, salvation, Allah, unity, the fact that we have this charter with these 10 wonders, these 10 emblems that we call the 10 wonders of the world, he was the one that returned all this to us, because all of these tell an aspect of the, you know, of our forefathers' empire, right? So all of that is part of your birthright inheritance, Islam Sheikh. Gratitude, boy. And that photograph is actually one of the, you know, one of the original 15 photographs that were taken in 1925 and sent to the temple. So we kind of, there was 15 original, you know, temples, you know, in the country established by the Prophet, and that's actually one of the original photographs. But the point is that this, where it says this fez right here, it says figure number 1, you know, representing the degree of nationality. You see what I'm saying? So for the sisters, it's the turban, you know, and that turban, you know, has a crescent pin like my wife has in the middle. You see, signifying an open third eye, right? The Prophet put the turban on the brother. I got one for you too. It's in my bag. I got you, sister. The Prophet put a turban on the brother's head, but he didn't put that's not for us. That's y'all's degree. You see what I'm saying? So y'all have certain degrees that are just for you all, right? And you all have to get together in an auxiliary and study those degrees, you know, and to help evolve that. Like the Prophet said, the sisters' auxiliary was designed to be to function as the right hand of the Prophet. So all the divine work he was doing, the sisters got together and said, well, the Prophet has to travel. We got to get together and make sure he has everything he needs so we can go travel. The brothers didn't do that. The sisters did that. Islam, you know, so, and there's a whole teaching with that. But we're just asking everybody to, you know, we say come into the Moorish Science Temple of America. That don't mean walk in the door. That means come into the thought. And the thought of Moorish Science Temple, Moorish describes the man or the woman. Science means to know, and temple is thyself. So when you say Moorish Science Temple, you're saying man, know thyself, right? So come into that thought, right? And be that message. So that Quran we just read from, a day will come when you won't have that Quran in front of you, but you got to demonstrate, right? So you leave your footprints clearly cut. So the people that come behind you know, oh, that's a Moorish American Muslim right there. Look at how they move through the earth. You see what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to pull your records all the time and have to read through them. You know, I do that for the sake of this being First Heaven, being an initiatory phase. Y'all might not be familiar with it, but if you catch the sheiks in the conversation, well, we speak fluent Circle 7Es. That's what we talk. We don't talk no other way. In fact, if we want to talk to someone claiming to be a Moorish American, we listen to the speak. We're like, yeah, you ain't one of the prophets, Moors. I can tell you ain't using the language, and it's a language that we speak in that you can only get by being here. Islam, and that language creates a thought. Well, the thought creates a language, and it creates a whole vibration around your being. Where when your trial comes, because it's coming, right? You'll notice that I don't really respond like I used to. You know, I mean, I use me. There's a time, you know, again, like I said earlier, I'm a Libra, so I strive to keep that balance. But when people tip the scale, there's a side of me want to knock your head off your shoulders, and there was a side of me in those days that have knocked some heads off shoulders. You know, slap some people in the mouth, men in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, don't nobody want to live like that, though. You know, because that has to reciprocate itself. You eventually gonna get slapped in the mouth. You know what I mean? But there's no way, that's no way to be living, looking over your shoulder and stuff like that. You know, why the Prophet called us Muslim. A Muslim is the highest in civilization when it comes to being peaceful and harmonious. You know what I'm saying? So the Muslim is the peacemaker. We come in on the streets and stop beef. We don't start them. Prophet says we are for peace and not destruction. You see what I'm saying? So do you have any other questions? So does that answer your question about nationality and the process?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, the nationality is yours. It's not something like we're giving you. It's your nationality. We are conferring that which is your birthright. But it is indeed your birthright, but you have to understand how that functions within this United States of America Republic. All right? And there are a lot of ones that are lying on the internet, talking about what that thing is, getting people locked up. And that's not our purpose. We don't want to see you incarcerated at all. Okay? So you had any other questions?
I'll have one.
You sure? Went blank?
The supernatural way that I was instructed
Okay, let's go.
to the Moorish side left me with a lot of questions, and it was just like, get some temple discipline.
That's right.
You gotta find a temple, because, you know, I watched a lot of videos, and I watched a lot of your videos.
Praise Allah.
Taj Tariq. A lot of those videos. I have my questions more organized.
Okay, that's no problem. I like the way you said that. That's fine. I'm glad you made it safe. Please don't rush home. Islam.
1st of November, like, what the sign is.
Islam. On a Friday, exactly.
Just enough to get here.
That's right. Real quick, the prophet, please put your phones on silent. The prophet instructs us, he says that had our forefathers, kept Friday holy day holy, we would have never saw slavery. You see? So Friday holy day is very important to, because it allows us to get in a position where we can realign ourselves with a higher thought. And where do we have to go to throughout the week that's going to do that? See, so the prophet established this institution so we can do that. Then Sunday school is designed so that we can, say iron sharpens iron. So we take these lessons, our Quran questionnaire, and you go through all 101 questions, and you'd be surprised what comes out of that. So if you're able to make it on Sunday, you don't want to miss Sunday, 7 o'clock.
So I gotta do 3 Sundays,
3 Sundays, 3 Fridays.
3 Fridays.
Okay.
You ever been on a road?
So I guess your countdown begins today, huh? Islam. Sorry?
I'm sorry, do you have to be on the road?
We prefer consecutive, I'll get with y'all because y'all live so far. We'll create, something for that. But, because we really just want you to get your lessons and not be involved in nothing where you hurt yourself because we end up mixing teachings. See what I'm saying? Here's the reality of it. If it doesn't square with this man right here and what he brought, it's gonna lead you astray. And the reason why I say that because he was the one that brought Moorish anything in this country. The awareness of it as a movement. Were there Moors before Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Of course, right? But you're talking about in terms of a movement in this country to uplift fallen humanity that was founded and established by this man right here. So we utilize his writings to square anything that we may study, right? And we apply the lessons that he taught and the tools that he gave us. So even if you're in your actions, if you might wonder if you bugging like my character might be out of whack. Let me check myself before others have to check me. I'm angry about this, so let me go to the record. Let me open the Quran. What does it say? And if you can't see it, call one of the brothers, call one of the sisters, call one of the brothers. See what I'm saying? So that way, because when you're angry, a lot of times you can't see it. Hate blinds. You're not going to be able to see why you're hateful, right? So sometimes you need a third party or second party to be able to look and say, Islam will calm down. It's actually this. You know what I'm saying? Call on the holy breath, the divine breath, and access the thought to hear the small, still voice, what you call the supernatural. But it's not supernatural per se. It's just, that's the real you. You know what I mean? The prophet says, and I say this and I'll close. Man is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and part of Allah. And once you understand that, you'll be able to do this Moorish thing with no problem. All right? And with that, I lower the meeting. Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. 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 Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. 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 All praise are due to Allah in the highest of honors. To his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Moors? How is everyone once again on this holy night? Your bodies may be a little tired, but I pray that your spirit rejuvenates you with what you just received. You see? Because a lot of times, because you're not your body, a lot of us think we are our body, right? I'm tired. No, you ain't. I'm hungry. No, you're not. Stop lying. Islam? Spirit don't know nothing about hunger, don't know nothing about being tired. None of that. In the Quran of Mecca, it says that relative to Allah, it says, sleep nor slumber overtakes Allah. Islam was? Islam. And the word that they use in the Arabic is the word Allahumma, which is Allah in the plural. So that Allah in the plural is you all, right? Says the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says the nearest place to meet Allah is in the heart, right? So all of you are divine beings. The Allah we seek is not in the clouds, the sky, it's within you. And when you're able to access that, that's when you're able to bring heaven to earth, right? When Jesus said, on earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, so on and so forth, right? But the forefathers' thought was to, they talk about a place called heaven. I don't know about that. Ain't nobody ever came back and told me heaven exists. Until I find out that exists, I'm a creator and I'm gonna build one right here on earth.
That's right.
Right? And it starts in your house first, right? It starts with you first, right? Then the prophet says, with these lessons, you can set your house in order. Set your own house in order, right? And the community, the broader community, is nothing more but families that are on the same thought, right? They say, well, look around and say, all this trash is out here, let's get together and pick the trash up. You know what I'm saying? Potholes in the streets. That's our tax dollars. Let's contact the council person and get the money that we already paid. Y'all know how that works, right? The money that you already paid, to allocate that to get that pothole fixed. The schools are a mess, whatever. Go to the PTA meetings. Even if you don't have babies in that school, the babies in the community, go to that school. So you need to be able to go to the PTA meetings and have a voice as a citizen in that district. Islam? That's Noble Drew Ali. That's what he was about. He was about bringing that divine thought into the physical realm and clean up, right? Not that we just gonna get together and there's times when we get together and chant and meditate. We do all of that. You see what I'm saying? But there's a time and place for everything. You see what I'm saying? But we have to get our the thought of their forefathers back within them, because right now we're not being ourselves, we're being someone else. First two lessons, and I'll close on this. The first two lessons you learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America. So our visitors, here's your first two lessons. Learn to love instead of hate, and be yourself and no one else. Everything you're going to learn is between those two things, right? The history, the etymology, the law, all that's between those two things, right? Because he said mental slavery is what you have now. So he said learn to love instead of hate, because hate is what we have now, right? Hate is what we go to when things don't go our way. We become filled, that's the word hateful, right? Filled with hate instead of filling ourselves with love. And when hate goes through the body, it destroys. You've heard the term free radical. What is a free radical in the body? What does a free radical do?
Return to the cancer cell.
Say again?
Return to the cancer cell.
Exactly, because what it does, it goes and just wrecks living DNA, just destroys it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the degree we have of going to and fro on the earth, seeking whom it may devour. That's the aspect of the free radical. In your body, it starts there, and then it becomes the brother in the community is running around sticking cats up and doing X, Y, and Z, because in his body, he has that level of destruction, or in his mind. Islam Morris? As above, so below, as within, so without. Everyone please rise, face the east, which is right ahead of you. In the spirit of our forefathers, we will close with the Moorish American prayer. Please hold your feet at a 45-degree angle. Standing in a square, your heels will be touching like this. Raise 5 on the left, 2 on the right, invoking the sacred presence of the 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, or evermore to be. For our visitors, please adopt a position of prayer that is comfortable for you in giving homage to our collective creator. Please repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
freedom,
and justice. Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide, and my salvation, by night, and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam Morris.
الله أكبر حي على الصلاة